Recording on. All right, so hi everyone. Thanks for joining today's March 5th. It's the group meeting for the product analytics team. So I have the first agenda item, and I'm super excited to share with you all that Lindsay Farina is joining us as the new PM for product analytics. Super excited she's here. Lindsay, we have a few of our standard GitLab intro questions. If you could vocalize for us about where did you work before GitLab, why did you join the team, where are you located, and what do you like to do for fun outside of work?
Awesome. Yes, so I was just at Stackhawk. So if you're familiar with DAST, then that's what I was working on. So dynamic application security testing, building out a lot of the front end experiences around just integrations and workflows and trying to get things in place so that customers knew how to best take advantage of that tool. And before that, I was at New Relic, where I did a lot of things. So familiar with observability and analytics and things like that. So excited about this job, which is kind of why I selected this when I was going after a new position. And then what really clinched it for me was talking to everyone. I really enjoyed all of my interviews, and that's not always the case. That could be a arduous process. But I found everyone to be awesome, and it just sounds like everyone's just passionate about what they're doing and really connected, and also all of the GitLab values and sort of everything that around the culture was amazing. I am in Philadelphia. If you're a fan of Always Sunny, then I will tell you that it is in fact not always sunny here, and it is raining quite a lot today. But what I do for fun usually is centered around dogs and destroying my house. So I'm constantly breaking things and putting them back together. This is now my second house to play around and renovate. So I have a lot of tools and much more patience, I think, this go around. That's me.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Lindsay. We're super glad you're here. Dennis, you've got the next one.
Cool. Well, it's good to know that our interview you found pleasant. Just kidding. Cool. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we can go through the build board review. Give me 1 second here. Hopefully everyone can see my screen. Getting a thumbs up. Thank you. All right, so a couple open issues here. I will say it's been cleaned up quite a bit, so hopefully it's a little bit easier to go through. That said, we're good. So scalability, investigation, and assessment, something we still need to validate. It's kind of a broader topic for infrastructure. It's kind of between two courts right now, so we could pick that up, but still trying to figure out the infrastructure support side of things there. But we do have restricting access to the funnels configurator endpoint to .com only. This is pending the scheduling. Can anyone speak to this one? That's been working on the funnels work.
It is not yet something we can accomplish. It's waiting on the rest of the funnels work before we can start blocking that funnels configuration option. It's not necessarily a blocker for GA.
Right. Is blocks a better status of this then?
I guess that's hello. What do you think? Because you've just completed the configurator endpoint. Do you think it's blocked by anything else, or is it just more that it's a lower priority?
So I think it's not really blocked because the endpoint is already there.
Got it.
So yeah, we can already start blocking it.
Okay, cool. Interesting. It's okay. Well, it's already in the milestone, so we can go ahead and just update that. But cool. I will take care of that afterwards. All right, we've got that shouldn't be here. That is automating the rate limiting capabilities that we have. So being able to, well, let's move on from that. That shouldn't be for GA. We've got enabling the Kafka exporter. Halil, I think you and I were talking about this one. Is there anything you can speak to this about?
Yeah, I just made a quick check, and then I put this milestone, but we can move it depending on the workload. Basically, yeah, we didn't. Basically, it looks very simple, other than configuring the TLS.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think today maybe we can discuss shortly and then see if we move forward with this approach. We can keep it and start working. Yeah.
Sounds good. I know Michal also in analytics instrumentation did a lot of the work for enabling SSL and Kafka, so perhaps we can lean on him, or perhaps he could actually just pick up this issue as well. So we can discuss that later. Cool. Problem validation, Rob's favorite issue here, the with fill order. Anything you want to call out?
I know I haven't got to your ping, but I know you commented about whether this is a block of GA. It is not at all.
Mhm.
It is working on, our biggest cluster ourselves right now, with minimal issues. So for now, and we don't have any plans in getting more complicated filters out before GA. So for now, this is not a blocker, and we can get to it later. I do have a mild aspiration for us to sort of get together and talk about Cube in general when we meet up at Summit.
Great. See if we can get some time together to discuss that. The other few issues are in problem validation that are undersigned. So if you've got capacity, please feel free to take a look at those and see if we can move those forward. We have a couple design issues as well that are assigned to Graham, that he's out until I think the 9th. So there is one from Jan. I don't know if there's anything you'd want to call out here.
Yeah, so I'm still waiting for feedback from legal about the question that I think we can share. But and I've just received feedback, or I just read a response from Dio's UX designer that it looks like, since our situation is very unique in that we're not a text-based AI tool, we can go for a bespoke solution if we want to.
Nice.
So it seems like with that blessing, I think we can go ahead and try out and like iterate from a most basic and boring solution. And then also, feedback into the greater UX team to say like how this is going, and maybe it can become a new solution if like we find it's like useful to have.
No, that sounds good, especially if we want to try to figure out how we can kind of get out of the prompt instructions to send an ID that we can attribute to feedback. I think there's a little bit of digging we can do on the engineering side while we're waiting for legal approval, just to make sure we're all good there, but that's exciting for sure. Thanks for the update. The other issue in solution validation that's not that's not unassigned is at Graham. So unless anyone has anything to call out here, we can just keep moving on. All right, Jan, you've got the next one for planning breakdown.
Yeah, so this issue is actually not blocked because it's dependent on something that's in verification, is already merged.
Nice.
I had a call with Rob yesterday that was very useful, and Alvin's also responded on the issue. So this is just to a refactor on our grid stack implementation, which is the library that is driving our entire dashboard front end. Currently, the implementation is a bit of a headache to maintain. It's kind of confusing, and I feel like it needs quite a lot of domain knowledge, let's say. And I've researched and found a much simpler implementation that we can use. So hopefully, fingers crossed, soon we'll have a much better like file in terms of our code, but also the user experience is going to be a lot better, because we're currently doing stuff like refreshing the dashboard to reset the state, because there's like buggy behavior in terms of like dynamically adding or removing stuff. So this is going to create a much more seamless user experience also going forward.
Awesome. Cool. And later topic, we'll be trying to get people to use the dashboard framework. So that seems like a welcome improvement there. We got a couple of blocked issues for moving the analytics stack code to a clean repository, as well as updating the pipeline for the repo. I think those are two things that are really not going to be required for, well, we're validating the first one, but we'll see what's needed for GA and what can be pursued after. But as far as what's ready for development, we've got adding the license to the public repo, updating our SAS checks in the product analytics code, moving default references to GitLab and personal emails like my own for SSL certificates and other things like that. A lot of documentation that we need to update as part of our GA release. I might have created a duplicate issue last night as well, so I apologize if that's the case. And then, yeah, just going through these issues, please feel free to speak out. If you have something you want to talk about. Inconsistent results. over time. So Robbie, I know you were working on this one. This one's unassigned. Was there anything you wanted to do to hand this off or anything like that?
So the bigger chunk of it got resolved with the timestamps we were having problem. And there's a smaller part of it which just requires changes in cube queries so that the results are aggregated. So I created a separate issue for it to track.
Awesome.
So all the details are there in the ticket. And I think this is ready for development. If I get time, I'll pick it.
Great. Nice. Seems it's great. We have a path forward there. Bunch of work to, where are these issues assigned to? Because I did not see these. I need to dig into it because I was I would agenda point later about having the first GA release scoped,
so the
but
first bunch of issues at the very top that we scrolled through are all related to making the analytics repo public, and they
Yep.
all are the things that will allow us to make that process, although we can definitely look at trimming a lot of those if we want to. I think we already had that discussion. For the cluster properties, these are individual issues that came out of the auditing work we did in this milestone to figure out where the inconsistencies are. So they are much lower priority, I guess. Depends on how consistent we want to be for GA, I guess. It's the answer to that. They are in this milestone just because the audit was in the milestone, and it wasn't, the original issue wasn't necessarily sort of the idea of doing an audit. It's just that it made more sense to break it out into separate issues rather than trying to rely. So we can pull a bunch of these out if we want to narrow our focus.
Yeah, I think we'll do that. I think there's a second part to scoping on the GA, so we'll talk about it a little bit, and then I'll pull some of these because I realize these are part of the logging improvements. So definitely we can something we can focus on after the GA release.
Yeah, that's fine.
So yeah, at least that's what I think, but we can talk about that. So yeah, a lot of documentation updates, which is very important. Determine backup strategy. I need to check in on seeing what the ClickHealth working group is doing because there's actually someone from observability is going to be working on automating the backup process for ClickHealth cloud services. So just to reiterate, the plan is to replicate that until we have a different plan. So we'll get 7 days of backups and then we can restore accordingly. Load testing Cube. Sarada, you have this issue.
Yeah, so I just started working on it. I am currently want to have a cluster setup where I can actually load test it and have some inspiration of what are the metrics that we want to track. So it's currently sort of not an actual development planning from my end, and then I'll actually work on it.
Great. We have background workers to push funnel.
Sorry, just one thing.
Okay.
Do we have any other tickets similar for load testing, maybe vector or any other component that I can have a look at?
Cube is really.
I
sorry. Good.
I basically want to check what are the metrics that we want to track, so it'll be helpful.
Cube is the only one that comes to mind at this point because since we're dogfooding the product on .com, Snowplow, Kafka, and Vector are effectively getting load tested already just with the amount of traffic that .com gets. It's really just the querying side of things that we want to have a little bit more visibility around and how it performs. We know that Cube will time out sometimes or just fail to serve requests even though there's multiple workers. So just trying to see like where it breaks and how we can kind of work around that, improve that is really the focus. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think there's any other part of the stack that we haven't already load tested by nature of dogfooding.
No, I agree with you.
All right. Does that help you, Robbie?
Yeah, that helps.
Cool. Interested to see where Cube breaks. Cool. Max, you've got the next issue for funnel configurations.
That was well timed. Sorry, I'm very, very late, everyone. Yeah, I've not had an awful lot of time to look at this one. I've been focused on the billing front end still. Half of it's done, so adding a new funnel works. Halfway through removing a funnel, and I'll move on to updating hopefully by the end of this week.
Awesome. Elvin's got documentation for natural language querying. I don't know if there's anything to discuss there. He's also got he's been working on the bring on cluster onboarding flow. Otherwise, Rob, you've got alerting for SSL.
I finally got to do some of this today. Yoo-hoo! I mostly just because I ignored all my pings. I have a meeting after this with Halil just to run through. We're going to record. I'll record it for everyone. For future people that want to start adding alerts, just so we've got a video record as well. So fingers crossed, I'll have some MRs out of this by end of day into review.
Awesome. I'm going to move this one back to ready for development. Cost data is going to be an ongoing thing. We've been staring at this one for a few milestones, or rather, I've been procrastinating on this one for a few milestones, but it's not as important right now. It's good to have that visibility into our costs, but as well, when we focus on the more managed private aspect and kind of making those comparisons to cost savings compared to what it would cost for someone to run it themselves, that'll be a little bit more of a higher priority.
Dennis, we should probably talk about the scope of that issue and if we should just close it and make it
Yeah.
one point, because originally what we were getting a lot of that data for was for the pricing model, which
Yeah.
we got enough to make that model. So
Mhm.
maybe this one gets closed and we make more specific ones if we want to target it against private offerings in the future.
That's a good point. I'm happy to move that to close it because yeah, that was the original goal for this. I will make a note to schedule follow-ups potentially though. Thank you. For in review, we've got ensuring product analytics purchases are displayed correctly. Max, anything to call out here?
So annoyingly, this passed front-end review really, really quickly, despite not being any good at writing JavaScript, and is now stuck in back-end review, in a sad irony. I'm hoping I will have all the comments addressed by the end of today, and we can get it at least approved, if not merged by the end of this week. But there's PCL at the end of the week, isn't there? So even if it's merged by the end of this week, we won't see it in production for at least a week and a bit.
Which is all right, given that we're still Sam and I need to chase some people down at the summits for some approvals anyway. So we've got some work in flight as well.
That's fine.
So,
I won't
yeah.
I won't need to sleep over it, but yeah, it should be. It's in a pretty good shape.
Exactly. Great to hear. Elvin's got instrumentation for natural language querying feature usage. It'll be good to add to our product analytics dashboard. A couple more issues in verification. Jan, anything you want to call out with grid stack here?
No, just happy that it's got merged.
Awesome. And Sarabi, you've got automatically rolling deployment stateful sets when config maps and secrets change. Anything you'd like to highlight here?
I have tested it in my local cluster and it's working fine, and I got it reviewed with Rob as well. So I just have to deploy it and monetize.
Awesome. Cool. As always, I don't know where our bookmark is for the closed issues, and we are still 20 minutes in. So in the interest of time and the rest of the agenda, we will just keep moving forward. But we've got 183 issues closed and 226 wait. So great job, everybody. But yeah, let's keep moving on with the agenda. Cool. So I just wanted to call out, you may have seen on the more expanded schedule for the summit, there's a poster session for engineering. I fixed the link to the poster itself. So basically it's kind of like a show and tell, or I don't know, I think of it like a job fair, but it's just, well, that's maybe not the best analogy. Basically, everyone goes around and just like talks about their group or some projects they're working on. And so you've seen it's a multi-hour session. Of course, I would love for everyone to go around and see what everyone else is doing across GitLab. But something I'm quite keen on, as you see in the poster, is there's a big call to action to try to really get people to either use product analytics or at least build dashboards, because like we've built a lot that can be expandable across the entire organization. And we know we can combine all of that to start building these dashboards that can show pretty much data from any part of the product. So looking for people who want to volunteer to be at the booth, if you will. But you'll always, of course, have time to like go explore as well. But particularly if anyone wants to help out with, hopefully if someone's interested in trying it out, we can have some people on hand to help onboard them. Rob, do you want to verbalize? Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, Lindsay's not going to be aware. I drink a lot of tea. was your caffeine calculating in the poster taking that into account? If you need a calculation, I know for a fact that the UK location Slack channel, they have screenshotted my calculation for my tea consumption. So there is a way to actually get an accurate estimate.
It was a very scientific estimate for how much caffeine we've consumed. But it did try to account for your tea consumption, as it's of course spread over to the States where I'm now drinking Yorkshire Gold as well. So
The best.
yes. So it was a best effort guess as far as how much caffeine we've consumed. I'm happy to dive deeper into that metric and add a couple points there if we need to for it to be more accurate. I'll bring a Sharpie so we can update that.
I feel like we need a dashboard.
Fair enough. Awesome. Well, take a look at it if you've got any well, the poster deadline's already here, but if there's anything you'd like to if you'd like to volunteer or like to be present during that, please feel free to, but we can always figure it out once we're there. Cool. Next topic. So a couple of us sat down and tried to figure out, we've got a lot of things flying around, some in the first year epic, and then you've seen things from the bring your own clusters from the project level epic. And so, I've been pointing at different epics and saying, here, pull some stuff in, or they're already scheduled to the milestone. But I guess appropriate with the seasons is there's been a lot of spring cleaning with a lot of the issues and epics. And so still a little bit more to do, as some of the 1610 issues are including some issues that aren't necessary for the GA release, but are still important. But the first GA release has been refined to include what is absolutely necessary for the GA release, which based on that should be targeting 1611. So the end of 1611, that would be April 9th as us being able to technically release the GA. So I'd love for everyone to take a look at the epic and see if that scoping is appropriate or if we think there's some risk involved with that. Yeah, I just wanted to really help we've been working on this GA for a while now. We've been working on this product for a while now. And so I wanted to give some visibility into when we want to actually technically release. This means we're ready to launch. There's still a lot of work involved, approvals needed, things like that to really get things going as far as an actual product release. But take a look and let me know if you have any questions or feedback. It's always, if there's nothing in there that's relevant to you that you could pick up, there's issues already kind of being scheduled for the next few milestones, thanks to Sam. And of course, there's the kind of overarching epics that we've been working on that you can also pull issues from. But feel free to take a look and let me know if there's anything out of sorts. But Sam, did I miss anything there?
No, I think you captured it, Dennis. I will just underscore what we talked about a couple weeks ago about how our initial GA release with Bring Your Own Cluster is going to provide a ton of value to our ultimate customers and improve the value of the platform offering of GitLab. The managed offering, we're going to be doing at a different time once approvals are done, but this is still going to be a big day for us. Once we're actually shipping out GA to customers as part of an ultimate offering with Bring Your Own Cluster, that's going to be a huge day for us. What we've found with a lot of the customers we've talked to, they're interested in hearing about beta or experimental software, but it's more of a tell me about it now and then let me know when it's ready and I'll actually look at it during GA. So it's going to be really important. It's going to be a really exciting day for us once we actually officially put that it's ready for GA stamp on everything, and people are going to be able to start using it as opposed to the beta or experiment, which they're a little more hesitant to use. So we'll have that 1611 plan a little bit more finalized in the next week or two. But yeah, Dennis said it. That's the main goal, is getting to that GA mark. And I'm really excited about us finally getting there together.
And it's also worth noting, we've been dogfooding.com. Thanks, Rob, for the calculation. It's been how long since September? Almost 6 months since we've been dogfooding.com. Is it September? Yeah, it must be. Since we've been dogfooding.com. So we've had some kind of stress cracks and things like that, but overall, we've been ingesting 25 million events a day on one single cluster, and we haven't actually had to worry about manually scaling Kafka, which is probably the biggest concern point after Cube. But I think we've really shown that it's got enough stability and maturity to really work as an offering for both self-managed as well as our upcoming managed service. So great job, everyone. Rob, you've got some points. You can verbalize, I
I
can
can't.
capture.
Thanks. My first question is: do we have an issue to discuss version handling between the different versions between the analytics stack repo, the GitLab repo, and the DevKit repo? Because obviously we're going to have to do some pinning or something to be able to make sure we're supporting for each version of GitLab. These are the analytics stack DevKit versions that we do support for each version.
Yeah, I mean, we've been discussing it. I don't think there's any other issue. So if you or someone can create that issue, I'd greatly appreciate that, because that will become a very big point, even for their managed service. If we create a new SKU, for example, for self-managed GitLab to use managed product analytics, we're going to have to be mindful of, well, what version of the GitLab instance are you running? So which version can we actually, this is something that Dedicated deals with. Which version of the product analytics cluster can you use? And we'll have to balance, and that's actually a more strategic thing of like, how do we balance that against shared clusters? Does that make sense for shared clusters, or does it make sense to, that's a we'll discuss that with Lindsay, Sam, and I. But it's important nonetheless to keep that matrix just to see what's compatible and not. But even more important to make sure we stick with semantic versioning with development of the product analytics stack to make sure that we're not breaking things not unnecessarily for GitLab instances.
I'm happy to create that. Would you class that as a confidential issue? Or I guess not. It depends if it starts referencing pricing and stuff, doesn't it?
I think its output is not confidential. I think what will come out of that conversation maybe. So I think for now we can be public by default.
Cool. And I guess my follow-on to that would be, is that something we should be handling before we go GA to make sure we have a plan to continue our development processes once we go fully general availability?
I'd say it's something we should start talking about 1611. And then maybe if we need to update documentation to say, hey, as of version 1611 is compatible with Product Analytics 1.00 or whatever we're going to version it. But I think as far as like finishing that matrix, it's not the most, it's like a P2. So
Thanks.
in my opinion.
My second question, which I didn't finish typing out, the post-GA drop selection mentions bring your own cluster. I was under the impression that bringing your own cluster is required for GA, but the UI and the improved version is not. Do we have that differentiated in the GA epic?
Not yet, because I was trying to figure out, and this is something I want to talk to Sam and Lindsay about, is that post GA epic was just kind of like a backlog epic where we just threw everything in there. And so we have a lot of issues that are tied around bring your own cluster, and some are scheduled for this milestone and some are scheduled for the next milestone. And I think personally, I think it'd be a good idea to start thinking about milestone releases again, as opposed to an epic representing a whole release. Because then post GA just basically became the backlog milestone or a second version of it. So it's not in the first GA epic, but the issues that are relevant to what has you described, like in improving the onboarding process and the documentation and things like that, have been scheduled accordingly. So I would say like looking at the 1610 milestone, looking at the 1611 milestone will give a better picture. And that's what the purpose of those milestone planning issues are, is to like, here's what we're trying to achieve in this milestone, as opposed to like this epic is going to be a giant release or something like that. But yeah.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you for clarifying. That makes perfect sense.
Cool. Awesome. Well, we're a minute, we've got a minute left, or technically over time, depending. But we're very close to our general availability release. Can't talk anymore. I've got more meetings. That's not good. But it's exciting stuff. So if there's any other questions or concerns, please reach out to Sam, Lindsay, or I. Otherwise, yeah, exciting times. And for those that'll be joining us at the summit, see you very soon. For those otherwise, we'll get you in on a moving iPad so you can hang out with us anyways. And otherwise, have a good rest of your week, rest of your day, and take care.